GLP-1 agonists, absolutely revolutionary. I think they've been unnecessarily demonized. There's a lot of concern over muscle loss. Obviously, a great intervention for that is just get adequate protein and strength training.
I have gotten so many messages from people who are, number one, they're secretly taking it because they don't feel like they can tell their spouse, they can tell their friends, like, because they get judged for it.
And I've said many times that move more, eat less is truthful, but not useful.
Mm-hmm. GLP-1s, they're agonists, like these weight loss shots, for anyone who doesn't know, they're very controversial among people who haven't actually researched it. People who just hear like, oh, it's a shot, oh, you're cheating, Can you give your thoughts and insights into these drugs and again, the nuance, like not the clickbaity, we're not going to clip you and be like, all right, this is what he said, that's it. It's like, well, give the real insight into what people need to hear about these drugs.
Yeah, I mean, they're revolutionary.
Yeah.
Without weighing in on one side or the other of, the positives, the pros versus the cons.
Yeah.
We'll start to talk about some of those, but absolutely revolutionary. And some of the statistics now show that 1 in every 6 or 7 people in our country is using or has tried them.
Really?
Yeah, we're up to north of 12, 15%.
Wow.
In the statistics that I've seen most recently. So they're here to stay.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
They have evolved. They've been around for 20 years for diabetes treatment, but they've refined them in such a way that they last, these appetite suppressing effects now last very long instead of just over short periods, which is why no GLP-1 mimicking foods work, because they just don't last long enough. And there's no supplement that can be taken that does the same thing, because the duration of the effect, it's the way that the medication has been treated to last much longer, have a longer half-life. But I think they've been unnecessarily demonized for a lot of reasons, unfortunately. And I've thought a lot about this, and because they are so unbelievably effective, and they changed the lives of people in my family as well as many clients. One of the neat evolutions is that as they've gone from Semaglutide to now Tirzepatide, is they've decreased the side effects and increased the efficacy. Let's talk about efficacy. Most of the research over 2 years, which is what we're talking about, long-term dietary adherence. Most people who lose weight, or most people go on a diet, lose weight. The weight control registry has tracked over 10,000 people for more than 6 years who've lost 66 pounds and kept it off. 6 out of 7 lose weight. The vast majority of them gain it back. And so the long-term trial, so long as you stay on Tirzepatide, and that'll be an issue we'll have to discuss, or Semaglutide, shows that long-term dietary adherence over 2 years, you see about a 2% weight loss maintained for the vast majority of the population that's not treated. We see 17 or 18% maintained weight loss. When I say maintained, I mean they're still on the medication. After 2 years on Semaglutide. Tirzepatide is now up to 23% weight loss. That's clinically significant. Yeah. I would argue that 2% is probably shy of being clinically significant, because you need about 5 or 7% weight loss to have a significant impact on fatty liver, and up to 15% weight loss to see a reversal of type 2 diabetes for those people whose pancreas hasn't already been damaged. And so it gives you an idea of what I'm saying when I'm saying clinically significant, or in terms of health outcomes and benefits. So it's these medications are very effective. One of the biggest challenges, I think, some of the things that people mention that they don't like about the medications. Other than the cheating thing, I don't care.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean anything to me. Maybe the fitfluencers hate it that other people can be just as fit as them now, and their genetics don't mean that much anymore. But there is some concerns with cosmetic versus health-related use. Some people just want to lose 10 pounds for their bikini body. That's for them. But the side effects, that's for an individual to discuss with their doctor what the cost benefit is. Obesity itself, elevated cardiovascular disease risk, 200% increase in cancer risk, all the things we talked about that are the benefits that are associated with weight loss itself, could, for many of the people who qualify for these medications, be significantly better than the potential side effects. Side effects are individualistic. Some people have different responses. Side effects, we've learned now how to manage a lot of those by titrating smaller amounts of the medication. We came out of the gates hitting them with the full dose.
Right.
And people had massive
Stomach
gastrointestinal problems was the major one. So we titrate the dose now. Plus, if you're on these medications, it slows gastric emptying or digestion. So you shouldn't be eating big meals.
Correct.
That's going to cause you a problem. And so you have to eat smaller meals. And maybe, and I'm cautious about restriction, but when you go in to get a colonoscopy, you use what's called a low residue diet. Mm-hmm. So most of the food is digested in the small intestine right before it gets to the large intestine. Smaller amounts of those kinds of foods more frequently will help reduce the nausea component. And then titrating the dose over time so the body kind of gets used to it. And Tirzepatide has less of the nausea because they use a dual agonist, GLP-1, GIP, that helps both with mentally with the hunger stimulus. So those are ways that that the prescription of this medication has improved as we've become more educated and gotten more feedback from people. There's a lot of concern over muscle loss. We have repeated studies now that show that a similar amount of muscle loss occurs in the general population who lose the similar amount of weight.
Yep.
The challenge is they lose so much weight that they look like they're losing way more muscle, but it's because the comparators aren't losing as much weight.
Correct.
Obviously, a great intervention for that is just get adequate protein and strength training, which I don't know why. I guess maybe personal trainers complain because they think it's replacing them. I think you become more
100%. I completely agree.
Particularly for teaching and maintaining all the stuff that we talked about previously. Get these people in the gym.
I was going to say this earlier. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're right on target.
I have gotten so many messages from people who are, number one, they're secretly taking it because they don't feel like they can tell their spouse, or they can tell their friends, like, because they get judged for it.
Right.
So they're not only are they secretly taking it, but for their whole life, when they've been a higher body fat percentage, they've been nervous and scared to go to the gym. They feel like they're going to be judged. Now that they've lost weight, and I don't think this is right. I feel like you should be able to feel comfortable going to the gym no matter what. But I think people now are going to be more likely to start strength training because 100%. They're getting to a point where they're more confident to go to a public gym and work out. So I actually think people are doing a disservice by discouraging people who need these drugs to not take them, because you're preventing them from getting to a point in which they could actually go to the gym and start working out because they've increased their confidence.
100%. On the muscle loss thing as well, and people don't realize this, that heavier people tend to have more muscle mass.
Yep.
You think it's all fat, but they have more muscle mass.
Yep.
We also believe that heavier people have slower metabolism, or we think that, and that's not the case.
Correct.
They probably have a higher metabolism.
Yep.
Again, we're back to appetite dysregulation, and they are consuming more calories, which, folks tend to blame them for, as we discussed. So on the muscle thing, if properly managed and understanding, but it's also, I think Stu Phillips put out a study where he said anywhere from 40-60% of the DEXA readings are confounded by water and organ loss as
really?
Well. Yeah. So it's not all muscle. It's not all lean muscle
Interesting.
mass. And when
I didn't know DEXA had that big of a...
Has that big of a variance. And that was Stu Phillips' study that he did. I had it in here somewhere. But we talked about the cost-benefit ratios and how that's, for you and your doctor, and the increased incidence of all sorts of diseases. Here's one that I wanted to go down this list that I made of people who are whining about GLP-1 agonists because they're so unbelievably effective. And I hate to sit here and sound like I'm selling them, because I'm very cautious as to who should take them and under supervision, how to mitigate the side effects associated with them. But there's a lot of people, and this is titled "Sit the Down." I wanted to do a video on this, but I don't speak to as many people as you do, so this will be a good place for this. But I titled this "Sit the Down." All these people are standing up, screaming and yelling about people using GLP-1 agonists, who have themselves or their kids, their 14-year-old daughters, on birth control. Sit the down. There's side effects associated with that as well. And if you go off birth control, what happens? Because people talk about going off of, what if they go off of Tirzepatide? Well, what if you go off birth control? What if you go off metformin and you're type 2 diabetic? Mm-hmm. Does metformin have side effects? Oh, yeah. Sit the down. You ever been on metformin and you've shit yourself and got diarrhea because of the side effects? NSAIDs. How about guys with tattoos or on PEDs talking about
cheating?
An individual's choice to take, cheating. Sit the down. How about implants? Botox.
Yep.
Lip filler. Sit the down. Phentermine, ephedrine. Those are things that we relied on some years ago, as recently as a decade ago. A lot of side effects. How about insulin? You're type 1 diabetic. What happens if you go off? You have a hormone dysregulation problem, as do people on semaglutide. Appetite dysregulation hormones, leptin, ghrelin. You go off, recurrence of the problem.
Sit the down.
Proton pump inhibitors, acid reflux. Ambien. You ever use a sleeping pill to go to bed? No side effects there? Sit the down. People drinking alcohol, of all things.
Yes.
We know now, we used to think, the Mediterranean diet, a couple of drinks make you live. We know now at any dose, alcohol increases the risk of 7 different cancers at least.
Yep.
That I recall from referencing the research. Sipping on your alcohol, whining about Betty's semaglutide she'd lost 40 pounds with. Sit the down. Smoking, vaping, nicotine. On a more serious note, how about SSRIs? People suffering from depression. Surgeries. Sit the down. Who's still standing? When you go through that list of the most commonly prescribed medications and procedures in the United States, you're talking about hundreds of millions of people that utilize those different services over the years. And I've said many times that move more, eat less is truthful, but not useful. And that I really think people should just sit the down. Is really what I believe. I can't say it any better than that. You know, if you're on the internet making claims about it, you said that people are trying to do this clandestine so that people don't know they're doing it.
Correct.
Why? What difference does it make?
Shouldn't.
It shouldn't. And as long as they're supervised with their doctor and they've got a good plan, I think that just because they're so incredibly effective for the people who need them. And for the people who don't need them, you know, I made a list. You know, who are you to judge?
Exactly.
You know,
that's exactly right.